Okay, so in today's video we're just going to have a quick look at a part 2 type exercise from the C2 Cambridge exam, the Proficiency exam. And part 2 is known as the open close, where you have a gap text, 8 gaps in the text, and you have to fill them with a word, but there are no options, so you basically have to really understand the sentence very fully to be able to come anywhere near the correct word. It's quite difficult. But that's the idea. If you're at C2 level, you should be able to read a longish and complicated sentence and think, there's something missing there. I know what that something is. Let's find out if you know what that something is. So, this is an interesting short article about film music, and actually it's a topic, it's something I think about quite a lot, surprisingly. So I've got a little bit to add when we finish this exercise. I've got a little recommendation for C2 level learners. But let's get into the exercise. Film music. Any mention of the movie Star Wars instantly triggers the resounding opening bars of the film score, which signals the presence of the enemy. The opening bars of the film score? Yeah, that doesn't signal the presence of the enemy. It signals the presence of the victory of the... Anyway, who cares? Yeah, there are two very memorable sort of pieces from the Star Wars films that I remember. The old ones, the original ones, anyway. But anyway. But you can call to... Can you call to... Who wrote the music? Yeah, so this is an expression which means can you remember? Can you recall? Do you know? Is it in your mind somewhere? Can you call to mind who wrote the music? Yeah, that's the expression. Again, one of those that either you know it or you don't. Don't think there are any other options there, really. Can you call to mind who wrote the music? To legendary film director Orson Welles, music accounts half the work in a movie, mostly. The audience even knowing the composer's name. Very difficult, long sentence with 3 missing words. So, first of all, so I think Orson Welles said this, right? Said that the music is very important in a film. So I think we would say, according to the legendary film director Orson Welles, this is what he said, according to him, music accounts, basically it makes up half of the work of a movie. So we say it accounts for half of the work in a movie. Mostly the audience even knowing the composer's name. How often do you know the name of the composer of the music in a film? Very, very rarely. So I'd say mostly without the audience even knowing the composer's name. Yeah. The cruelest of it for the composer is that in a good film, that is how it should be. So I guess the most cruel thing about this, the cruelest part of it, or maybe the cruelest aspect of it, I think both would be acceptable there. The cruelest part of it for the composer, or the cruelest aspect of it for the composer, is that in a good film, that is how it should be. Yes, subtlety is an art, isn't it? You know, you don't want to stand out necessarily. If the art of dressing well is, to all intents and purposes, to dress in such a way that others do notice your elegance, I guess we're talking about not standing out, is to all intents and purposes to dress in such a way that others do not notice your elegance. The art of great music, of a great music score, is to fuse so perfectly with what is on the screen that audiences are unconsciously sucked the mood of the movie. Yeah, I think there's only one possible option there, like in a sink, in a drain, like water getting sucked into the mood of the movie. For this reason, even great movie music brings very recognition to composers. For this reason, because the idea is to go unnoticed, to blend in with the scene, with the mood of the film. For this reason, even great movie music brings very little recognition to composers. Okay, in a number of videos in the past, I have recommended reading, particularly reading and listening to audiobooks at the same time as a way of improving your level of English. That's what I did when I was learning Spanish, what I still do now, in order to build my vocabulary, because I feel like you're taking it in visually, you're taking it in auditively, and then of course you can stop the recording and check words and things like that, and I think it's a really good way of improving your level. And I got asked by a channel member to recommend some books, and today's topic, the exercise we've just done, has kind of reminded me of a book that I read that I really liked. I read it maybe a year or two ago, or probably more, I don't know. Time goes so fast. But The Catcher in the Rye is the name of the book. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. And what we were talking about in today's exam task is the art of subtlety. And being too flamboyant can sometimes be a problem, even though you show great proficiency in something. And I'm not talking about your language necessarily here. But even when you're highly proficient in something, more so than other people, that can sometimes in some way be a negative thing. Let's take a look at an extract from this book that I'm talking about, The Catcher in the Rye, which talks about that exact topic. I think it's very interesting, and I recommend reading this book. So I think this is really interesting how the main character, Holden, describes Ernie. Ernie is a piano player, and he describes how his piano playing is excellent, but it really clearly is lacking in subtlety, no? And then he goes on to mention him a bit further on, but let's see how he describes Ernie. He says he's a terrific snob, and he won't hardly even talk to you unless you're a big shot or a celebrity or something. But he can really play the piano. He's so good, he's almost corny, in fact. I don't exactly know what I mean by that, but I mean it. I certainly like to hear him play, but sometimes you feel like turning his goddamn piano over. I think it's almost because it's because sometimes he sounds like the kind of guy that won't talk to you unless you're a big shot. He's saying that even the way that he's playing, even though he's so good, it's too good. And then there's a great reference to the same person later on. If we go down a bit further in, I think, what is the same chapter, and he's talking about two actors on the stage, two famous actors, and it's here where they say Alfred Lunt and Lynn Fontanne were the old couple. So they played the old couple in this play, and they were very good, but I didn't like them much. They were different, though, I'll say that. They didn't act like people, and they didn't act like actors. It's hard to explain. They acted more like they knew they were celebrities all the time. I mean, they were good, but they were too good. When one of them got finished making a speech, the other one said something very fast right after it. It was supposed to be like people really talking and interrupting each other and all, but the trouble was, it was too much like people talking and interrupting each other. They acted a little bit the way old Ernie down in the village plays the piano. If you do something too good, then after a while, if you don't watch it, you start showing off. And then you're not as good anymore. But anyway, they were the only ones in the show. The Lunts, I mean. That looked like I mean, that looked like they had any real brains. I have to admit it. It's a really interesting book. There's some really great moments in it like that. Some real moments of insight. But anyway, I think that's all we've... I was going to say got time for today. I'm not on the television, am I? That's all I'm going to do for today. I'm finished for today. So any doubts or anything, leave a comment. Goodbye.